Don't worry. No, Tara. No, tell me something. Before we start, this how it works. The just basic house rules. I will you just look at the camera for a few seconds. I will introduce you, and after that, we just turn around, just like what you're doing to me right now, staring at me. You're about to kill me. No, just kidding. And then we'll start. Then we'll have a conversation.
Okay.
And then I'll ask questions based on what you're doing, and also what you'll be speaking about today, and just
Friday.
Friday.
But it's okay.
Yeah, Friday on Friday, and then from there, you know we'll elaborate.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. Wow, you look serious. Come on.
What? I'm not serious.
Really?
I'm just being good.
Oh, look, he's
I'm
good.
ready.
Yeah, you ready? Hi, welcome to the National Quiz Choice Online News Center. Hi, I'm Robin Stienberg. Welcome to my show again. And today we have a very special guest. And she's none other than Dr. Tara Gray Coste. Is that correct?
Coste.
Yeah, Dr. Tara. And Dr. Tara teaches organizational theory, research methods, deliberate creativity, and innovation, and other courses in the leadership and organizational study programs. She's also a colleague of the Creativity Education Foundation and a leader at the Creative Problem Solving Institute. And she's also a visiting scholar at the Singapore Management University's WikiWi Center for Cultural Diversity in Business. She's also a co-founder of International Forum of Creativity Organizations and a past president and director of the American Creativity Association. Dr. Tara, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
I'm amazed by your accomplishments.
Mouthful.
I kind of like how do you do it? I mean, you are so diverse, and I can't even recognize that.
You do what you love.
Yeah, I know. I mean, no, I hate to say this. Do you consider yourself as a citizen of a country, or are you a global citizen?
Very much a global citizen. I
Really?
actually moved to this neck of the woods when I was 8 weeks old.
Wow.
So when I was a baby, I lived in Kuala Lumpur.
Wow.
So maybe I'm more Asian than American. I don't know. My formative years were spent in Asia.
My gosh.
But I
Amazing.
also do a lot of work in Africa and some work in Europe.
Oh yeah, you've been to Africa?
Yeah.
What is it like?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's Asia hot without the wet.
Ah,
And
okay.
lots of cool animals, wonderful people.
Oh wow.
It's an interesting part of the world.
It's not like Sahara Desert or anything like that in Africa.
Some
so-
places.
Oh
some
yeah,
places
yeah.
are, yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
I want to go there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I just can't wait. Dr. Tara, today you're at this conference, one of the foremost well-known conferences that focus on innovation.
Yeah.
And also on other areas such as behavior changes and so on. What is your view and probably your argument in this conference?
What is my particular
Yes.
approach that I'm looking at?
Yes.
I'm really looking at the various contexts that affect the creative process. So that could be, as we were talking about, even if you're a global citizen, you have to be aware of national boundaries, national cultures, at the context of ethnicity and race and gender and age, the type of organization you work in, the discipline that you work in. There's many things that work to bind you, to give you certain rules of behavior, and all these things put together is what makes it possible for you to function. The key is, in innovation, is how do you do something both new and useful within those boxes, if you will. Some people find it very hard, some people find it easier. Often people who find it easier to be creative, to think of creative ideas, have a very hard time working within any boxes. So people who are very good at working in boxes often have a hard time coming up with a creative idea. So where do you find a place in the middle that people can understand their context and work within them very effectively,
Now,
innovatively?
but how important is having to able to identify or know that you have a national identity, a national culture. Is that really important?
I think so. I think so. I think people, as they want to be more modern, as they want to be more global, tend to downplay the importance of their national identity. And I think that's wrong, because your national identity, both of your birthplace and your place or places of residence, help shape who you are and how you think about the world. And in your understanding of yourself and what you're able to do, you need to understand how that's influenced you.
And now, how important it is today, right now, to you, personally, as an expert, on behavioral studies and and leadership, where is it going?
Where is the study of creativity going, or the
Yes,
study
right.
of
The
behavior
study,
in general?
the study of creativity and leadership.
I think the latest work in leadership is increasingly focusing on the complexity of what it is leaders have to deal with now. It'd be a mistake to assume that any leader doesn't work in this complexity, and it'd be a mistake to assume that any leader understands fully the complexity. So how is it that we get the information that we need to get to function effectively, to function innovatively? Because we have to function innovatively to survive and thrive in this complex culture, without losing our minds. I mean, you can't pay attention to every detail. So how do you do that in a way that makes sense?
So what does it make sense today for cultural diversity in business?
What makes sense today?
Yeah, that's right.
I think you obviously don't want ethnocentrism, or people who think that their culture is the only correct way to be in the world. You also don't want, as I was saying before, people to ignore their culture and the positive things that can bring to a collective. So when you're looking at cultural diversity in business, you want to gather a diverse group of people, both culturally and in other ways, so that you get the greatest mix of input that you can onto whatever challenges face the organization.
Wow. Now, how can one realize or understand how they could relate to one another to avoid any conflict?
Well, in creativity, we don't necessarily think that conflict is bad.
Really?
Yeah.
How do
There's
you...
productive conflict.
Really?
So it is quite possible for you and I to disagree, but not disrespect each other, right? We can disagree. It might be uncomfortable, but that's where new ideas comes from, right? A discomfort in the brain. You're not comfortable with what's normal. You're not comfortable with what's been going on. So you seek a new way of doing things.
So how do organizations and managements able to confront their fear without having any conflicts? Can organizations globally, especially, like the hospitality or sector, for instance, they have a lot of these employees, working in an environment where it involves a lot of global interaction.
Yeah, I think I always go back to simple human kindness.
Really?
Goes a really long way. At the core of it all, simple human kindness and being respectful of one another, regardless. I don't have to agree with your religion to respect you. I don't have to agree with everything you think to respect you. I don't have to, necessarily care about what you're working on. It might not be important to me at all to respect you and your right to think it's important or to believe it's important. And I think it's that it has to go beyond sort of the inane put smiley faces on everybody's, door be happy, be nice to everybody. There really has to be a cultural transformation in an organization that does not have this already in order for it to be the behavior that the organization expects and therefore will see if the cultural transformation is effective.
Now, this coming conference, on a Friday that you're going to be talking about, what sort of issues are you going to bring out that will highlight the attention of the world?
Well, I'm going to talk about the various contexts that we function within. So how is it that age causes conflict? Right?
Age causes conflicts. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well.
Yeah, the young Turks come in and they have great ideas, and the old folks are just, that's not how we do it here.
Huh.
You're being disrespectful of your elders, of the people who've been doing it a very long time. So how do you make that work? Leadership, the leaders of an organization must both attend to the tasks that must be done as well as the relationships with the people. So what's the balance between task and relationship? And along many of the different dimensions that we look at things, you see this, not this interplay, right, between opposites. And how does that work in a way that is most stimulating?
Oh wow!
That's what I was talking about.
Speaking about stimulation,
Yeah.
have you also thought about gender as well as
Absolutely. Yeah.
as well as women and men who are divorced, especially as well as single mothers? I mean, I'm sure that there is some kind
Sure.
of behavioral studies on how they interact and reflect in organizations.
I don't know about, that's interesting. I never thought about divorce
because-
particular, but gender certainly plays a role in things. Women tend to be much more attuned to relationships. We're enculturated to be much more in tune with relationships. On a more human level than a strategic level, although obviously we do both. Both genders do both. And men tend to be more task oriented.
Mhm.
So that's a difference that we see play out in genders. When you see, well, actually, if you look at the difference between traditional Asian or traditional Eastern and traditional Western ways of business dealings, for example.
Mhm.
So many, maybe not so much now, but in the past, Americans would come over and not understand why there's all this social stuff that we're supposed to be doing first before we get down to business. Because Americans tend to be more task-oriented, right? Whereas in Singapore, for example, you might be a little more relationship-oriented, right? I know that the task will get done if I trust you, right? And done well.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it's a really interesting play between, I think I might have lost your question a little bit, a really interesting play between, again, there's relationships and trust, and then we got to get stuff done.
Yes.
And in this new world, we have to get stuff done so fast.
Yeah.
So we know that relationships and thinking and meeting and blending are the way we get great ideas, and time for reflection.
Oh, yes.
And our time for, that's when we get great ideas. But our corporate climate, really any organizational climate today, doesn't have the luxury of time.
That's true. And
Yeah.
isn't it true? And I found one of these research is that, especially those who are emotionally hurt, especially those who are divorced or single mothers, and if they are placed in the area of leadership, it has a effect on the way they perform.
Absolutely.
And also relate to their own employees and their superior.
Yeah, I mean, when you have any sort of damage to the human, right?
Yeah.
That damage affects how they interact with other people. right? Obviously, necessarily. So somebody that's going through a divorce, for example, or is a single parent, or has a sick parent, has those additional stressors. Well, that necessarily is going to translate into their behavior at work, right? You'd hope maybe professionalism says that it wouldn't, but of course it does. You're more tired. You have more things going on in your brain than if you have shared responsibility. It's harder, but I think most people today, I think, live pretty complex lives. That, the days of having a lot of help to do a lot of things are just not with us anymore. So I think leaders and really anybody in an organization needs to take into account that there are all these pressures outside of work that must be attended to, because you're not going to have healthy employees if they can't attend to what's going on outside of work, at least sufficiently. You don't want them distracted from their jobs all the time, obviously, but there has to be the work-life balance.
Yeah. Now, about the young and the old, how does older employees and younger employees should take into account how they can relate to each other? Do you have any key points and takeaways on this?
Yeah, I always thought it was really funny. When I was very young, I tended to hang around with the very old. And people thought that was really strange. Why wasn't I hanging around with the other 20-somethings? Why did I want to hang around with the 60-somethings? At conferences, for example, I'm like, well, these are the people from whom I can learn the most. They were the most interesting. They had the best stories to tell, And it's not just a respect of age and wisdom in your elders. It's what is it that what stories can they tell that can inform what's going on now? Not what was going on then, because that's gone. But what is it this accumulated knowledge can give us now in this world? And again, simple human kindness. Ask. People really like to be asked their opinion on things.
So folks, do ask more questions, if vice versa, and if you want to be in the good books of your employers or your colleagues, and I think that is the way to go, and resolve for a long term.
Yeah.
Yes, and whether or not you're going to miss me or not, that's not the issue. Thank you for joining me here at the National Critics' Choice Say It Hot, and with Dr. Tara. And do look out for more stuff on our YouTube channel, Say It Hot, the National Critics' Choice, or even on the website, or join me at my Facebook, Robin Stienberg, and have a great week ahead. Once again, thanks for joining me. Thank you.
Good.
All
right.
You okay with that?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think it sums up what your